Hey everyone, it's Gunther the Swordfish, and this is the final video of a 5-part series of me ranking every aesthetic on the Consumer Aesthetic Research Institute website. Here are the top 17 consumer aesthetics ranked by me. So buckle up and let's dive in. Number 17, Airbrush Surrealism. This one was heavily used on disco and new wave music album covers. Everything in this style now looks ultra nostalgic, to something my dad would have shown me from his old record collection. The great thing about this is that this art style can be used for pretty much anything, from fantasy to real people, cars, nature, you name it. This seems like more of an art technique more so than an aesthetic, but it has a unique identity of its own. Even the happier pictures tend to give off this slightly eerie or edgy vibe though, and that's vaporwave as hell in my opinion. Number 16, Frutiger Arrow. I think I'm going to have to get a bodyguard, because I know people are going to attack me for not putting this at number 1, but let me explain. Maybe I'm just overexposed to it. Maybe my teenage depression during this era clouds my judgment. Internet nostalgia for this is what stirred up a lot of the modern interest in aesthetics to begin with. So the name was coined by a photographer named Sophie Lee. Here's her socials, by the way. My issue with Frutiger Arrow is that it's a bit confusing on what it is or isn't. Some of it looks Y2K, some of it looks more modern and simplified, and some of it's in between. And some people will see a picture of a sky or water and say it's automatically Frutiger Arrow. Don't get me wrong, when it hits, it hits. The optimism made our future look so bright. It was the next logical step from Y2K. But it lost some of the edge. And that made it very clean, which can be great, but I don't know. It's just not number 1 for me. Number 15, Groovival. The 60s and 70s revamped. Corporate, hippie, but more self-aware, and for a new generation of youngsters. My generation. Also, D-Light or whatever. Lisa Frank got in on this as well. It's very flowery, rainbow, bright, psychedelic, although in an overly saturine way. This often got mixed into Y2K and Silicon Dreams to create some awesome pictures. Number 14, Memphis Milano, also known as Memphis Design. This is that paper cup design we've all been seeing on the background to your favorite 90s cartoon or video game. This is peak late 80s, early 90s. The colorful jagged shapes on a plain solid color background. Though this one mainly applies to home and interior design, it's still nonetheless a classic. It's the best of 2 decades. What more can we ask for? It may seem too vibrant and zany, but that's the attitude, dude. Number 13, Pacific Punk Wave. And here's the other half of Memphis Design. Basically part 2 to the previous entry. It's actually technically the precursor to Memphis. Notice how very essentially 80s it looks? A bit more photos are added in, and seemingly a little more monotone, with colorful designs popping out onto it. This one adds neon signs and face paint, and is a bit more DIY. Not quite as rigid, and slightly less colorful, but it's easy to see how one led to the other. Also, lots of leopard print. Number 12, Ultramodern Revival. More 70s nostalgia in the 90s, who would have thought? Man, the whole decade was just 70s revival at this point. But they did it very well. Some of this really does confuse me because I can't tell if certain things are from the 70s or the 90s. It's retrofuturism of what the 70s considered futuristic that came back due to our parents' nostalgia passed on to us. And I almost just confused myself. Number 11, Radical Surrealism. Think of like trippy but not psychedelic. Forget the overdone tie-dye. This stuff is just plain weird, and I love it. Lots of Baroque rock music type of vibes here. Often you don't know exactly what's going on in these pictures, or why. This is an entirely modern or then modern art museum in one aesthetic, and it still holds up today. While it's more of a theme than an aesthetic, it still works really well. This one teaches you to think outside the box. Number 10, Synthwave. Yep, this is Outrun. Often confused with Vaporwave. This is more of like the synth music version. It's how kids today see the 80s, even if the 80s weren't really like this. It's peak retrofuturism. Driving around in a post-apocalyptic city at night, neon purple and blue on a black backdrop. The hyperpop of 80s nostalgia. And it is quite delicious. Number 9, Supergraphic Ultramodern. So this is what Ultramodern Revival was actually reviving. But I prefer it a bit more here. It didn't deviate much in the revival, which is probably why. It takes the trippy hippie nature of the 60s and combines it with futurism. Lots of round shapes and uniform, unblended rainbows. It's Y2K before Y2K even existed. This stuff looks surprisingly ahead of its time, but some of it almost looks more nature-inspired, like lava lamps and such. It's a very versatile style, and the nostalgia it packs, even for those of us who didn't live it, is out of this world. Number 8. Cassette Futurism. This once again feels like a continuation of the previous entry, but things are a bit more serious here. It's not an interpretation of the future, this is the future. You won't see bright color, because we need to be serious. Technology is in gray. Everything looks like the Nintendo Entertainment System. A lot of the stuff looks like toys for us now, but that's part of the magic because back then, these were not toys. All the jagged edges and rectangle blocky shapes, the robots, the obsession with thinking that the year 2000 is actually going to look like this, it didn't, but sometimes I really wish it did. This is a true look back to the future. Number 7, Rad Dog. The furry in me had to choose this one and put it this high up. Also called Neon Surf, for obvious reasons. It's the sequel to New Wave Tropical. It's gnarly, dude. Radical. There is an obsession with tough-looking breeds of dogs drawn almost crudely with bold outlines, and color palettes focusing on a few bright colors at a time, often contrasting each other. Lots of Memphis design packed into it. If you went on a vacation during this era, I assume that you were likely to see this aesthetic. It's like the 80s meets the 90s for edgy teens. Number 6, Neo Y2K. It's about time there was a Millennium Revival. This is as ultra hyper pop as it gets. Some of these pictures are actually terrifying me with how closely they can mimic the Y2K style so perfectly. I can't tell which pictures are from Y2K and which ones are from the revival. Then again, since the era was largely on the internet at the time, it probably isn't too difficult to track the original stuff down. There's definitely some technological improvements, especially in the resolution and smoothness of the CGI, but some of the pictures are purposely held back to mimic the era that it was based on. I'm an unashamed Y2K lover, and I may have been a bit young for it, but I loved it so much, and I love this revival that we're in, and I welcome it with open arms. Number 5, Early Cyber. Psychedelic Silicon Dreams, but a bit more business savvy. Less cyberdelia. It's like they had to show off every single piece of technology they had when they made these pictures. Look, here's pixels, and fancy text, and gradient backgrounds, and overlays. The color palette could be almost anything, as long as it's distorted, glitchy, and has computer iconography. This is the first time photos of the future were made using technology of the future. And just throw in some Memphis design for good measure. Number 4, Metal Heart. Yep, I'm staying on the Y2K bandwagon here. This is like a darker, more edgier version of it. You just feel really awesomely cool looking at any of these. The electronic music blasts in your eardrums. It's like traveling through space and time to another dimension. Most of it has these abstract shapes, but made in such an angular, shiny, metallic way. You definitely had one of these pictures as your desktop background. Number 3, Industrial Gothic. It's about time we got another industrial look on here. It's difficult to find many pictures of this, but it needs more. It has this scary sort of horror-inspired look, meets technology gone bad. It's completely dystopian in the best possible way. It's the darkest and moodiest look on this list, which is why I ranked it so high. We have the technology. It just may be covered in filth or abandoned, or misused for evil purposes. Number 2, Corporate Gen X Cyber. Wow, a corporate aesthetic made the top 2, and it almost won? Yep, it did. This seems like almost a commercial Y2K version of Fruitiger Arrow, in a way. Often has images of nature, but not as overdone or prominent or altered. This one was heavily in DVD menus and video game ads and magazines. It's extremely nostalgic. Ignore the corporate part. Or not. I knew it appealed to all of us. It features the bold text front and center with bold contrasting colors, and it also contains some elements of utopian scholastic, and even some cyberdelia. It just has everything and combines it to advertise to us. And I'll be the fool who says shut up and take my money. It does so much for a text and background-based aesthetic. And finally, at number 1, the one you've all been waiting for, the Y2K aesthetic. Anyone who knows me even a little bit saw this coming from miles away and knew that it would win, even over the current revival of it. But here we are, we finally reached it. This, my friends, was the peak, and I just want to go back. The future just looked so amazing. We really thought this would be it. But let me explain. It has some of the ultra-modern 70s influence, some anime cartoon influence, some Japanese influence in general, some modern technology influence. Objects and technology were round and colorful and often transparent to see how it all worked. And isn't that so high-tech? White or black chrome backgrounds were the norm. Sleek, tight, rubbery, shiny clothing. Dark goggles, for some reason. To help see against all the shininess, I guess. Also, an insane amount of CGI. The fonts, the humans themselves. You saw this in almost every music video of the era. There is a reason this style is being revived. While it can never top our #1 entry here, I'm glad we are getting a revival to begin with. And so that concludes my list of me ranking every aesthetic on the Consumer Aesthetic Research Institute website. I'm sorry if you disagree, that's too bad I guess, but anyway, leave your comments below. Thanks for watching and I hope I can post more videos soon.